I was working on my master's in public health. I didn't know what I was going to do, but then the midwives told me how they actually delivered babies and gave prenatal care. I said, wouldn't it make sense? I love working for people of color. I love staying in the city. I want to work for impoverished people. Why wouldn't I be a midwife? I remember one of my first births. It was a woman who had a natural conception. She delivered just uneventfully with a beautiful water birth. And she said to me afterwards that this was the best birth she had had. You let me do whatever I needed to do. You let me feel how I needed to feel. And I said, this is where I need to be. To have providers that understand and accept and wanting to work with different ethnicities, I need to support women in this way. I started to think, how can I create a birth center? Not that I would ever think as I became a midwife, that I would even create or even think of, I'm like, this is what other people who have money do, not small people like me who work in the community. All midwives, when we graduate school or we come into midwifery, we have this notion that we want to help women. But at some point, you have to say to yourself, how much can you give without either having time off or not being compensated? And I think that was what the challenge is. I do the work for compensation, but I gotta admit, sometimes I don't. Because sometimes when you work with people with Medicaid-based insurances, you don't get paid. And you just say, okay, it is what it is. Hopefully, when the doors of heaven open up, I'll be able to get it because I got a few free births. I'm hopeful that we can change the plight of women laboring in pregnancy and birth, not just birth centers itself, but maybe let some of that sort of move itself to the hospital course, or even educate our women more so it's where they'll know about what signs or things to look out for, questions to ask, or even have classes where we can offer providers the ability to learn how to know their own biases and how they can work through those biases to meet the needs of their clients. That's what made me start to work with my other 3 colleagues to try to create a birth center. And we're definitely on our way. We feel very confident that the women of New York want to support this, that our legislators are behind us. So it's not just to me about a birth center. It's bigger than that. It's something about midwifery and birth workers and us all working collectively to educate all of the country and humanity. I'm quite sure I'm just on the cusp of the beginning of the greatness.